CRP's economic policy blueprint in his work report. But one late addition to the agenda is already causing a backlash: plans to impose a national security law on Hong Kong. Our China correspondent Tom McKenzie is at the Forbidden City in Beijing. And Tom, is this even technically possible? Because they're talking about implementing this new national security law. We have seen the protests in Hong Kong the past year. What would this technically mean, though? Because can they really bypass the local parliament?
Well, that is the key question. It looks like this could be a way for the National People's Congress for Beijing to write this law into Hong Kong's charter, bypassing the local government. We're going to have to wait to see in terms of the details if that is indeed the plan. But certainly that will be the concern in Hong Kong. We heard that expressed as well from pro-democratic lawmakers in the city. One of them came out and said this would be the end of Hong Kong if this law was passed. And of course, previous Hong Kong governments have tried unsuccessfully to get this law enshrined into Hong Kong's charter. And you'll remember that back in 2003, attempts to do so were met by protests and they failed to do it. So it seems like potentially Beijing, again, is trying to work its way around the Hong Kong legislature to bake this into law. And again, the concern is it would erode Hong Kong's autonomy further. This law would prevent things like secession, sedition, foreign interference. That's what it's aimed at. So there's a concern that, of course, it's going to trigger more protest again on the streets in Hong Kong. And, of course, we have to look to see what the U.S. reaction could be, because, of course, in the U.S. they passed the Hong Kong bill, the Hong Kong Human Rights Bill, into law last year. That gives them the power to review Hong Kong's status. And that could potentially see Hong Kong lose some of its trading privileges with the United States. So we're looking for the U.S. reaction. President Trump coming out and saying that he would respond. He needs to get the details, but saying that he would respond to this.
And we did see that fresh outrage right from Congress in reaction to this news. We're already hearing that there's 2 senators that are proposing fresh sanctions and punitive legislation against China as a result of this. So what sort of measures could we potentially be looking at that are available to the Trump administration to respond to Beijing's newest attempts to rein in Hong Kong?
Right, so as well as that review of the status of Hong Kong and potentially removing some of those trading privileges, you're right, you do have senators, and it's another bipartisan effort, has to be said, from the Democrats and the Republicans, looking now at a bill that would punish any entities involved in enforcing this security law and any banks that deal with those entities. And again, these senators are saying that they are trying to protect the autonomy of Hong Kong. Pelosi in their House has said that they are very likely to support this as well. They would need to read through it. It's in its early stages, so we're watching that. In terms of other bills that may be presented to the Congress as well, you've got suggestions from some lawmakers in the US that they may want to try and punish China over the coronavirus by looking for compensation. Now, we heard from the National People's Congress officials last night saying that in no circumstances would China ever pay out compensation, international compensation for the virus. So pushing back very strongly on that. And of course, it follows what we saw in terms of about 24 hours ago, President Trump tweeting and for the first time really escalating this and suggesting that Xi Jinping himself was responsible for what President Trump was saying was a disinformation campaign against Europe and the US. So Trump escalating this as well as lawmakers in the United States.
Okay, Tom, so what should we expect on the main agenda, the economic blueprint for 2020?
Well, the focus really is on the GDP target, whether it is a GDP target or if it is a more flexible target, because that combined with the deficit target, which is another thing we should look out for, will give us a clear steer as to how much stimulus we should expect from policymakers here, from the National People's Congress, as of course they tried to put a floor under an economy that shrank 6.8% in the first quarter. The deficit target in 2019, by the way, was 3%. It's a suggestion that if you get anything below 3.5% this year, when we get the work report from Li Keqiang later today, anything below 3.5% will be a disappointment. The other area that we should look at, is extremely important for China, is the job situation. BNP Paribas say as many as 130 million people may have lost their jobs or been furloughed as a result of the coronavirus. Are they going to set a target for jobs? Officially, the unemployment rate is at 6%. Most economists think that it's at least double that. So jobs points to social security, social stability, and points to really the legitimacy of the Communist Party here. So that is going to be front and center as well. Anything else we hear on Hong Kong, anything else we hear about trading relationships with the United States, and also the defense budget as well. That increase was set at 7.5% last year. There is a sense that the PLA is going to be pushing for more money this year as well. So there's a lot to look for when Premier Li Keqiang stands up and delivers that work report at some point in the next few hours here in Beijing.